So, Sue here again to talk you through the last steps of making Hilary culottes or shorts, number 3 in a series of 3 video instructions for Hilary. As this is the third in the series, just a very quick reminder that seam allowances are 1.5 centimetres. Please use the magic marker when suggested. It will fade. Linen does fray easily. Please do zigzag or overlock where suggested, and please use the natural 100% cotton thread supplied so that you can garment dye if you choose to on completion of your culottes. We'll be using the last components and pieces from your kit, so it's the remaining 2 rectangle pocket pieces, the buttons, and the remaining tape that'll need to be cut into 4 equal pieces, about 10 centimetres each. Okay, so let's get making. First of all, press in along the 4 long edges 1.5 centimetres using a 2-dot steam iron. Now, if you're going to cut off these culottes to make shorts, you have been provided with a notch towards the bottom of the leg panels. If you put a tape across the panel when it's flat on the table and from one notch to the other, and then do a dotted line along your tape, you can use this line as a guideline to cut off for shorts. Of course, you can cut off these culottes at any length you prefer, but that's just a guide. Remember to use the spare fabric if you cut it off inventively, and please do tag us at Cut Couture Kit and show us what you get up to with the spare fabric. Now, either at the existing lower edge or your newly cut lower edge, use a wide zigzag stitch to neaten off this edge. To keep your work neat and tidy, trim off any rogue fibres from the zigzagged edge. Now, you have pressed a crease into the edges of the panels, but open these out so that you can turn in the lower edge 5mm and stitch down. Now turn this edge to the right side and pin along the edge as shown in the third picture. I've turned these culottes up 7 centimetres. There is included in the length of the culotte approximately 4 centimetres for a hem, but again it's entirely up to you the length of hem you choose. In the crease formed by pressing, sew a 1.5 centimetre seam down the sides of your hem. Now turn your hems the right way round and pin all along the length, just checking the depth of the hem as you go with your tape measure. Press this along the crease. Take care not to iron over the pins as they may melt. Now on the inside of your culottes, or the wrong side, sew on top of the existing sewing line to attach your hem in place. Remember to backstitch at the start and finish. Then the last job in the construction of your culottes is to top stitch down the turned in edges. So starting at the top and working your way down 1 centimetre from the edge, straight stitch all the way down each of the 4 edges. Okay, so now you're ready to make the pockets, and as mentioned at the start of this guide, you need to cut the remaining tape into 4 equal pieces. They should be about 10 centimetres each. Then zigzag all the way around both pocket pieces. Fold the pocket pieces in half as they were when they were delivered in your kit, and pin up the long edges of each pocket. So a 1.5 centimetre seam down each side of your pocket. At the top of your pockets, you've got some notches that show the fold line for the hem at the top of the pocket. So fold both pockets down at this point and pin into place, and then sew around the top of your pocket a 3 centimetre hem. Turn your pockets the right way round, push out the corners with something like a closed pair of fabric shears, and press your pockets on the right side with a 2-dot steam iron. Take your 4 pieces of tape and fold them over, then tuck them in at the top corners of each pocket. Pin into place, but I put a pin just to the side rather than through the thick seam and all the tape pieces. It's much easier to hold if you put the pin at the side. Check that all tapes are equal in size and that you can fit a button through the loop that you've made. Next, you need to hold these tapes in place with a little box made of straight stitches that you top stitch over the tape, as can be seen in the 3rd and 4th pictures. To position the pockets, it's best if you can use a mannequin. If you haven't got a mannequin, I would suggest that you put the culottes on and work with a mirror, or see if you can get someone to give you a hand with this next step. Pin the pockets onto the culotte, making sure that you've got them equally positioned from the left and right edges. You need to make sure that the loops are positioned over the facing area, not too high or they'll pull down the waist edge, but just towards the bottom of the facing area. Don't position the buttons and loops on a single layer of fabric because it could pull and tear the fabric when you're removing the pockets. So work within the area that's a double fabric, the area of the facing, and best positioned towards the bottom of the facing line. Use your magic marker to put a little dot where your buttons are going to be, and then remove the pocket and make sure you've got a clear cross for the position of each button. I'm going to suggest you sew your buttons on by using your sewing machine. It's something I didn't do until recently. I've always sewn my buttons on by hand, but when I took to teaching I realised that this was a much quicker and more professional method of sewing buttons. So first of all, you need to drop the dog teeth on your machine so that the machine doesn't pull the fabric through as it does the zigzag stitch. If you're not sure how to do this, refer to your instruction manual, but on my machine, my Janome, there's a button at the back behind the presser foot that you slide across, and then the teeth drop down as per the second diagram. Now carefully position your button under the presser foot with the two holes through the gap in the presser foot, and set your machine to a wide zigzag. I suggest you turn the needle by hand at first to make sure that it goes through the two holes and doesn't break the needle. When you're sure that it's set to go through each hole, then use the pedal and automatically stitch the button in place. The last job is to insert the care label. It's been hand printed on an offcut of fabric, so you'll need to firstly trim it down to a rectangle shape with a border around the edge, and then zigzag all the way around the edge so that it doesn't fray in washing. Attach to any internal seam allowance, but I've chosen to attach it below the designer label on this occasion. If you're leaving your garment white, it's probably wise to put it in this position because white linen can be slightly sheer, and you don't want the label visible from the outside. And there you have it. You've now completed your Hilary culottes. If they're going to remain white, please wash them before you wear them. It'll soften up the fabric and remove the finish that was applied to prevent fraying. If you're going to garment dye or tie dye, now's the time to follow the instructions on your Dye-On dye kit. If you didn't purchase one of these at the time of purchasing your Cut Couture kit, it's not a problem. You can still purchase one independently from our website at cutcouturekit.com. We would love to see how you decorate your culottes, whether you hand paint them, tie dye them, print them, block print them. Maybe you choose to add some embroidery to the hem, or maybe add some applique. Whatever you do, please do tag us at Cut Couture Kit.